Northern lass, speaker, travels all over the country to do coaching, teaching and learning guru, and if you haven't been to the blog,
Alright.
sorry, a learning geek, you need to go on there because there's loads of takeaway stuff. I'll stick some copies of the book out as well.
Right. Right, so I started you off with the riddle. What I wanted you to do is I wanted you to engage in the task that you were doing there. Hands up who thinks they've worked it out. I tell you what, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to talk about the answer to that question, okay? In an empty room, you've got a candle, you've got some matches, you've got a box of pins. I want you to try and work out what you're going to do in this situation. You've tried melting some wax, sticking it to the wall, it didn't work. Your goal is to have it up on the wall, held there without you having to hold it. I'll give you 30 seconds. I want you to try and solve this riddle. Off you go. Go, 30 seconds. Think about it. Alright, everyone, I'm just going to stop you a second. I have to apologise that the secondary school teachers are pretty much all I know how to do is be patronising and, you know, that be like absolute silence in the room. So, just sorry about that. I think somebody might have solved it. You worked it out? Go for it.
I'll go for it. I promise not. Take the box of pins and you pin the box of pins to the wall and rest it on the box.
Give the man a clap, that's it. The idea behind this is not really the task itself, sorry. It's more to do with how you engage with the task. This isn't an impossible task, is it? And it's something that you kind of want to find the answer to. I loved what you were doing. You were questioning it and saying, well, what's the wall made of? What are the pins made of? Actually, we're curious and we want to find the answer to that question. I want you to feel the difference between this one and the next one that I'm going to show you, okay? Again, same thing. I've got a riddle for you. I want you to try and answer this. What has hands but cannot clap? Feel the difference? What was the difference? It's unchallenging, it's too quick. You get the answer like that, yeah? I'm going to show you another one again. It's about feeling the difference, thinking about how this makes you feel. So here we go. Why is the distant universe so... I can't even say the words. We got any science teachers in the room? I want you to solve this. You've got 30 seconds. Yeah. What's the difference with this task here? Hands up who wants to give it a go. It's different to that first one, isn't it? And how you actually choose to engage with that one is really different to the first one. Some tasks can seem hugely unmanageable. All of this stuff I got, by the way, from Daniel T. Willingham, Why Don't Students Like School? What a fantastic book that is. It makes sense of just simple things like this and the way that we engage in tasks and things. But this cognitive scientist, I love it because the idea of Manglish didn't come from cognitive science, it just came from me playing about with education. But all of what they're saying actually backs up what I believe in, and that's just because we live it every day, so we kind of know what makes sense, don't we? The brain is designed to stop you having to think. Think about when you are driving a car. Yeah, when you very first learned to drive a car. It was like, I'm holding onto the steering wheel, I'm holding onto the gear stick this side, sorry I'm not abroad, I'm holding onto the gear stick, you know, I've got to do things with my feet, no, that's just too big. Think about now when you're driving a car, it's just kind of like, yeah, you're having a cigarette out the window at the same time, you're reading a book, not really, but you know, it's different. Our brains evolve so we don't have to think too hard about things. We don't particularly like to think. We are curious, but that curiosity is fragile. If we repeat the same difficult problems time and time again, like driving, actually we begin to find them quite easy. This is a point that I want to come back to, but it's just something that I think is important to make before I go into the Manglish ideas. I will come back to this. Templates are created by the experiences that we live every day. And I want to take you through, hopefully I've deleted the right ones, a typical experience from primary through to secondary. And think about those templates that are being created by our experiences. Fear is the anticipation of future discomfort. And usually we respond to things either because we think we're going to get rewarded or because we're afraid of them. I will never do that again, or I'm going to do that again, based on reward and fear, okay? So these templates are created by our experiences, and this is a typical primary experience. This is my daughter, Misha. This is little Stephen the hamster. We're going to have a go at doing something later. You'll get to know Stephen the hamster a little bit better. But for the moment, just think about this as an experience. Misha's quite a clever girl. She left primary school on level 6, actually. She enjoyed primary school. This was her experience. She had one teacher for most subjects, and that teacher often brought their specialism into the classroom. So if it was a maths specialist, there was a lot of maths going on. If it was a science specialist, if it was a music specialist, the teacher brought their specialism into the classroom. She saw literacy and numeracy as separate subjects. A lot of what she was taught was done through project-based work, you know, like the tutors, the moon, all of the things that you do in primary. The teachers were excellent at getting the literacy and numeracy into the project-based work, but what they weren't excellent at doing is showing Misha where it was. Misha saw literacy as something she didn't particularly like, but when she was writing stories about the loon, she loved it. She didn't see that that was the same thing. If you'd have said to Misha, what's literacy? It's something that we do to prep for the end of key stage tests. She is getting to see that because that's what she's experiencing. She's not the teacher, she's the child. She's going through the project-based work, it's wonderful, but actually it has absolutely nothing to do with literacy and numeracy. So Misha finished primary school, as we say, and she look at that. Stole my face, that's mine. I want it back. And this is what she experienced. She went into the lower primary school on a level 6, really clever girl. She's not any teacher's priority really, because she's going to get a C at GCSE. She'll probably get an A. She's got the type of parents that are going to push her and make sure she does get an A. For 3 years, she was neglected. She was, it was kind of crack on if you worked. Oh, the same spider diagram of Shakespeare every single year in English, because they could get away with it, because Misha wouldn't mess on. She'd just sit and do the spider diagram, make it slightly prettier. She was neglected for 3 years. She went from that one project-based work to this. MFL, PE, English, computing, maths, RE, history, science, art. She liked it, she engaged. She didn't sit back. Now this is a clever girl with parents who are pushing them. Now you think about that child who's not particularly good at literacy in the first place in primary school. They develop a fear of literacy in primary school. They say literacy is something that they do to prep for end of key stage tests. And then they get this on board. And actually maybe they feel like they're pretty good at PE and they'll put their effort there. But English has got nothing to do with that. It's got nothing to do with literacy, that subject. I'm going to go for that. Now I put out on desks, hopefully within a group you can see one. I just put a few of these out and I've got spares if you can't. This is an example of the PE exam. So GCSE PE. Can I just give you 30 seconds to have a look at this and I'll pass them all around. Can you just ask the question, where's the literacy in that? Yeah? Off you go.
The answers. Big words as well, isn't it?
I think there's an element of you having to
Interpret something.
interpret it and feel it,
Especially if you've taught them how to teach food. Some of the things that you just can't understand. Like the question of if it's
Can I just stop you 1 second? I'm not finishing this conversation yet, but I just want to add
that's what
to
that
it.
means. Tell me about
When, I think it was about 3 years ago now, Ofsted decided reading, writing, communication and maths were really, really important. Duh. They were going to come in and that's what they were going to be looking for. So I was still panicked and they had no director of literacy and numeracy. And they said, Lisa will do it, she's a proper geek, she likes that kind of thing. And I do. So I got to work with all of the subject areas. And what I did, I looked at it from a great height first of all, basically, and I saw that everybody was actually doing literacy. They were doing reading, they were doing writing, they were doing communication. We'll leave the maths out of it for a moment. Not everybody was doing that in the same way, but we looked at it in the same way. And we got the teachers, not us, to question it in exactly the same way as you're doing now. We got them to look at their end of year exams and say, where's the literacy in that? And I'm about to just bomb you. Have you seen these before? Thought bombs. Yeah, love these. It's just a plastic ball with a hole cut in, but once you put a thought in, it's supposed to make your mind go. These are just the questions that I ask the teachers. So I'm going to throw them around whilst you're having this conversation. Just have a look in there, the type of things that might spark the teachers thinking, where is the literacy in their subject? Who in here doesn't believe that literacy runs through everything in secondary school? That was my thought. So what I was thinking was, this is more about the questions that you might take back to your school to try and help the teachers to see the literacy in their subjects, okay? So inside the thought bomb, supposed to make them go, never thought of that. These are the questions that we ask the teachers when we ask them to look at their end of year exams and say, where's the literacy in your subject? Where is it? Okay? So again, back over to you. I'm just going to bomb you as you go, so keep your eyes open because I'm not a good shot. Sam, you want to throw some
Lisa, would Dr. people use what do you think what that actually means, aren't you? That's about true, isn't it? Telling them what that question is all about. Getting them trying to work it out, see if they can work out actually what they have to do there. If they're going to see it, if you've not gone through it with them, you're surely they've got it's not the stuff.
Keep throwing them around. Throw them around. Everyone's different. Throw them around, share your ideas.
No.
You can stump the question away.
You're not in my mind, I don't expect you to understand all of those things because I know that they don't. But maybe if you're in another subject area where you don't think that you're teaching any kind of literacy overtly because that's what English teachers are supposed to do, maybe you just think that actually naturally they'll have done that in English, so therefore I don't need to do that in my subject because that's part of my teaching. You think you presume, don't you, that kids know how to take the English, so therefore they're English their language, so maybe they should do that.
I'd like to think I still do it that way. I don't know. But yeah, there's certainly about what the actual, what does it look like. For me, that would be showing them the answers to questions, and then now I'm thinking to myself.
Okay, everyone, let's get your attention back over this for a second.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or not, to assess pupils in PE in this great depth, that's how it happens. And actually, we need to be thinking about how every teacher is working towards improving the literacy of every child in the school. It's not just the jobs of the English teachers to do that. And the same with numeracy, it's not just the jobs of the maths teachers. It's about finding what already exists and just bringing it out and using it to enhance the learning that happens in your lesson. I know a lot of the time teachers are frightened that it's going to take away from their time of teaching their subject. Actually, it should be taught through the subject, just as standard. And I think sometimes teachers are a little bit frightened of it. I want to take you through an example lesson. I don't know how it's going to work in this room, but we're going to try it anyway. I'm going to try and show you how you could get the literacy in that in an example history lesson, okay? And this is my artistic interpretation of what curriculums typically look like. This is what I saw when I first looked at the curriculum from a great height. I saw that everybody was doing really good work. They were just doing it in opposite directions to each other. So English and maths had literacy and numeracy running throughout them. They were teaching reading, writing, communication, mathematics, because that's what they did. And every other subject tended to be working towards their end of year exam. Teachers, like Misha's teachers, were allowing students to be purposefully, not really thinking about it, but they were sort of neglecting Key Stage 3 because their priority was Key Stage 4 and getting through the exam. Missing the point of the fact that those pupils right there were going to be next year's exam students, and unfortunately they were damaging themselves. They were always having to play catch-up. So that's what I saw. Everybody really trying hard, but all in different directions. So the ideas that we brought in were to try and do this. Again, artistic interpretation of that. And it was about everybody working in a similar way, in a similar direction, seeing actually that they were all working towards the progress of that child, and using Key Stage 3 actually as a model, and using that as, usually it's lost learning time, if that's the case. So we were thinking about how can we use that, how can we enhance that so that it really builds pupils towards their end goal. So this one's the dream, obviously everybody working towards the progress of the whole child, and I just want to give you some little ideas of how you could do that, because the big thing, the big Manglish thing, which in the book it just takes you through from the beginning to the end how we set it up, and there's no way in 45 minutes I'm going to get that across. So if you're an individual teacher looking to get the literacy into your subject, I'm going to give you some ideas for that rather than give you the whole thing. Okay, so there's the overview. Cross-curricular maths. Here's an idea. We knew that pupils had just done a term on gathering data. We knew that because we shared our planning, so everybody knew what was being taught and when it was being taught. We'd mapped out all of our curriculums from beginning to end. And so we knew that this had just happened, we knew what levels the pupils were at, we knew that they were confident with it, and we used it in English. This is the beginning of an English lesson. I said, how can we find out about genre, audience and purpose? This is something that I want to know. And I said, think about what you've just done in maths. And they were like, yeah, we can use graphs, we can use line graphs, we can use bar charts. And off they went and they did it. So it was looking for a link that was already there. I wanted them to know about genre, audience and purpose. And it was just finding a way that they could use the maths purposefully, so that they could take that information, use it and improve it. Okay? In English, we would teach them explicitly how to use this, which is it's an unfortunate acronym, and this comes from arguing with English teachers. We came up with gap split. Pupils never seemed to notice that it was that bad. But basically, it was the English teachers knew exactly how we were teaching writing. We all agreed that this was how we were going to do it. And it came from a plan, which was genre, audience and purpose in the centre, and then we split up the planning around the outside. Okay? And then the other teachers didn't have to teach that, because the English teacher was already teaching it. All they had to do was, like in the maths lesson, know it was happening when it was happening, and provide opportunities for the pupils to practice that in their lessons. So, for example, in geography, there was a geography teacher who openly admitted, look, I just tell pupils to crack on with a piece of writing, I'm looking for the content. The message that came across there was to the pupils, especially the ones that fear literacy, was we only have to do good quality writing in English. Actually, in geography, we can just crack on and it can be any quality we want as long as we say the right words. That's not really allowing them to use and improve the skills that the English teachers teach them. Actually, it's reinforcing their fear of literacy and keeping literacy in the English classroom and not seeing it as something that goes along with life. So the English teacher teaches it explicitly, and then all of the other teachers, they just know that it exists, know how it works, and so they're doing a piece of work and they'll say, oh, we're doing persuasion like you did in English, get out there, gap split sheets, okay? So that's a dead simple way of writing across the curriculum, just having something that the English teacher can share with the other teachers and something that is consistent for teachers to pupils. Now imagine you get a pupil in year 7, they get taught to plan in this way. Then you get in year 8 and they get taught to plan in another teacher's way, and then in year 9 they get taught to plan in another teacher's way. Great if you're gifted and talented, awful, I know. But not so great if you've got that fear of literacy. Actually, what you're doing is you're looking at the problem that you're faced with. You remember that third problem that you didn't want to solve? That's how it feels to the pupils. I don't get it, I don't want to get it, and I'm certainly not going to attempt it. It's not a problem where that first problem where you feel, actually, no, I'd never go at that. I've got all the dots, I just need to join them together. And it's also not too easy as well, like the second one you saw. It's about thinking about how you can work together to make the pupils feel like this is something I can do, this is something I can engage in. Love this one. This actually came from Sam. And outside of the classroom, this is one we're going to practice with. Outside of the classroom, you have, and this is encouraging talk in the classroom. That's literacy too. If we can get the pupils to say the words out loud and be confident with them and not fear them, we can get them to write them down too. So talk is something that we need to harness. And so outside of the classroom, we just have this dead simple poster, and it's clarify, what am I supposed to be doing? Get prepared, and preparation usually comes in the shape of talking, to share. Sharing my ideas with the rest of the class. Getting them used to every lesson starts with talk. It takes about a week to get pupils used to the fact that the Clarify, Prepare, Share poster is there. They come in, they read the question, they go in, they talk about it, and then they feed back to you. It never works quite as easy at that at the beginning. At the beginning, I'll be listening over here to the really good pupils, but actually listening to the ones who were talking about the relationships that they were having at break, writing it all down, and then stopping the class and not naming names, but just letting them know that I'm listening. And actually, this was an excellent answer. This one, not so much. Gets some laughs out of them, but at the same time, they know I'm listening. So it's about being consistent and training them. And we're going to have a go at this. So I've got a question for you. Outside of the classroom, I just want to see if this works, okay? Oh, we're going to do it like this, though. We're going to escalate it up a little bit. So this is communication in the classroom. I'm just going to make sure that this works in this classroom, first of all. So we're going to get a clarified, prepare, share question. The difference with escalators is I've already trained you that with an escalator, you have to do it in silence, okay? So you're going to see a question. Step 1, you have to do it totally in silence. Here's your question. Should I get my children a pet? Now, because you're in silence, that offers me the opportunity to give you a little bit more information. This is just a random lesson. This isn't a lesson that you get at school. But give you an example of how it might work. Should I get my children a pet? This is Misha. This is Misha you've met already, and this is Samuel. And Sam is 6 years old, and Sam has never had a pet in his life. I can't stand animals. I don't like the feel of them. You know, like when there's hair in the house, I can't eat food. It's just awful. I grew up with dogs, and I just thought they smelled the whole time. It was really thin before my mum moved out with that dog. Sam, we did have little Stephen the hamster. Little Stephen the hamster was awesome, but when he died, he broke my heart. I don't think I can do it again. So should I get my children a pet? Now remember, in English, you've been learning about persuasion. So remember that? In English, you've been learning about persuasion. So I want you to think about using that skill here today when you're thinking about that. So think about how you might persuade somebody that I should or shouldn't get a pet. Have you got an answer inside your mind, whether I should or I shouldn't? Have you got one? Should, shouldn't. Think about the type of pet you might want me to have, and just keep that answer inside your mind. Get ready to prepare to share. Okay. So step 1, don't discuss your thoughts with anyone. Step 2, choose a pet and begin to think of reasons why it's going to be the best choice for Mrs. Ashes. Or actually, you could agree with me if you want, because best. Step 3, this is where we escalate it up. Okay, this is getting pupils prepared for group work. Is it going to work in this room? Step 3, I want you to pair up, and each person gets 30 seconds to explain their choice and their reason. Now we're just practicing this time through. I want to see how it works in this room. How many is a pair? 2. Excellent. So if you find yourself in a 3, let me know. Okay, because I need to know about this. Right, talk about it. I want you to persuade each other. Off you go. Okay, stop everybody. All right, hands up if you went into a 3. Naughty people. We had one down here as well. The next step is to go into a 4. Now you're going to have to stand up at some point here to make this work, I'm sure, unless you're going to fall like this. Fall like this. Can you see how it might work in a classroom? We're going to just give it a go. Feel free. If you need to get up and move, get up and move. The next step is to take your ideas forward. Remember, we're just practicing. I want to see how it works this time, okay? So you're going to decide between the 2 of you whose ideas are the best. Remember, you're using your persuasion from English. Whose ideas are the best between the 2 of you, and you're going to take that best idea forward. Then you're going to persuade them that your idea is the best. Got it? Go for it. I think that she should get a All right, everyone, I'm just going to stop you a second. Remembering this is just a practice. And you've got absolutely no chance of persuading me to get a pet, so we might as well stop that there. But it was just a practice to see how it would work in the room. The idea is that any lesson could start like this, and it's just a question, it's a discussion, it's a getting them confident. Now I escalate it up, and you'll see where the literacy comes into it. It's going to work, so we're going to do the history. Brilliant. So yes. Okay, so we're going to be in silence. This time I'm going to add in thought bombing. I'm going to add in structuring towards a speech. Remember, you are pupils at school. You have been doing persuasion in your English lessons. You want the history teacher knows this. The history teacher has got shared resources across the curriculum with the English teacher. So the history teacher is now allowing you to practice what you've learned in English. So we're making those cognitive links between ideas. You know, they're in English, you're learning persuasion. It is useful in history. And actually, so is all the language that you've been learning alongside that. So we're going to be practicing it. It shouldn't take anything away from the history that we're learning. It's thought bombing, it's persuasion. So clarify, prepare, share. It's an escalator. First of all, inside of your mind, only one person can survive. Completely by yourself, you must decide who this might be and why. Remember your pupils, right? You probably don't know who these people are. You've got a good chance of knowing at least one of them. My outcome as a history teacher is that I want you to learn about these people. These people in history are going to be key to what we're learning about in history, so I want you to know about them. So outside of the classroom, you've got to think about this in silence. When you come into the classroom, that gives me an opportunity to give you a little bit more information. So up on the board, I'll have these three people. I can tell you about these three people. We've got Joseph Goebbels, is that right? A 47-year-old head of media relations. Have we got any history teachers in? Has 6 children. Nancy Wake is a British Special Operations Executive. She enjoys socialising with friends. Alan Turing is a 41-year-old head of computer science. He enjoys marathon running. Now they're on a sinking ship, and only one of them can survive. So you've got to decide for 2 of them to die. Start thinking through reasons why you might want to kill them. Remember, you've been doing persuasion in English, so think about being persuasive. We're doing an escalator, so you're going to need to share your thoughts with somebody in a moment. So you've got to work out what you've got to do. At this point, if anyone's like, I don't get it, miss, I get a chance to clarify. But you're getting prepared to share. You're going to be doing a speech to the rest of the class about this, so get prepared. Okay, got one inside of your minds? What's step 2? Pair up and persuade each other. Off you go. Who do you think and why? Go, go, go. Which one do you want? Should we go with that Alright everybody, we're going to the next step, so I'd like you to get into pause. If you did like you were working with last time, feel free to get up and move around. But as long as you end up in around about four people now, persuade each other, remember? Off you go. Go.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Alright everyone, attention back up this way please. Right, obviously this isn't the best classroom situation we've got. Actually it's a pretty typical classroom situation, far too many pupils, not enough desks. But It's in a classroom situation, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them, first of all in the twos, you get them confident talking to each other, okay? Then what you're doing is you're moving them into a fours. Now they've all invested something in this task at this point, so actually they want to talk to each other. And that volume that I hear, I love that volume when you hear it from the pupils when they're talking about the people that I want them to learn about. At this point, I don't expect that you've made a decision, I expect that you're probably still talking about it. To encourage that talking even more, what I'll be doing is I'll be introducing the thought bombs. Now I'll be making sure that there is key vocabulary in the thought bombs so that pupils are taking in that vocabulary. I will also be expecting that this should explode their thinking and continue their conversations so that they are actually want to engage in the task that I'm doing. They're getting used to talking to each other and they're getting used to the fact that lessons start with a conversation. Now this takes a little while to make at the beginning, but actually it does not take very long to just fill that with a couple of facts, okay? So it might take a little while to set up this sort of thing, but once you've got a protocol for how we enter the classroom, like clarify, prepare, share, I usually just stick a post-it up there. It does not take long. Post-it starts the conversation, they get used to the fact we come and we talk about stuff. But I'm going to escalate it up anyway. I'm going to start throwing these bombs at you. Remember, everyone's different. This should explode your thinking about these people. And then I'm going to escalate it up in about 3 minutes. So off you go. Keep talking. Who are we going to choose and why? Remember, be persuasive.
Molen, like, see, I have 6 children.
If it said Nancy also had 6 children, then I might think, actually she's just we'll get rid of the farm.
Alright, you ready for this one? Joseph murdered his 6 children.
That changes.
We knew that. We thought he's got 6 children.
We thought that's nothing, we want to keep him.
Now we don't anymore.
Right, so that persuaded otherwise, so we're doing one now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Alan is a genius in how to solve the Enigma code during World War II. Alan is a genius in how to solve the Enigma code during World War II. Right, so maybe
Alright, everyone, can I just get your attention back up this way again?
He's killed his 6 children. She's spying in France.
I'm going to show you how I would escalate it up because I don't know whether are there one of these on each table? Probably
Well,
not.
there's
Probably
8
not. I'll
groups.
show you anyway because we've got 10 minutes. So it's probably easier to show you. It's better if you go through the experience yourself, you can actually see how each step works. I've written most of this up and it's for free online, so just, you know, if you're interested, you'll go for it. The next step is challenge through questions. Get them to ask questions, get them to use their technology to find out the answers to questions, but then obviously get them to think about the sources that they're using. We're in history at this moment, so we need to be thinking about that kind of thing. So get them to question what we've got. You hear how you want to know some more about these people. That's because I'm telling you a story through this, actually. And if I could have just put all of that up on the whiteboard and said, right, Nancy, fairly nasty piece of work. Alan Turing, probably hands up who picked him, who was going to let him live. We all know who he is, and we all know that he's quite a fantastic person, trying to explode your thinking with some new ideas about him. Joseph. Head of Media Relations. Head of the Nazi propaganda party, actually. But you want to know more about these people, especially when you get the nasty details like he killed his 6 children. You're like, what? I want to know some more. And I just think that the thought bombs encourage that communication between the learners. You could have it, if you don't like plastic ball idea, you could have it just in a little tub and some ideas. The idea is that it's being drip fed and it's a story that they're learning about. So we challenge through questions, we find out as much as we possibly can. The next step, again, shared resources with English. What I've got is these hexagons, and I've got, so some people will be able to see these, some people won't. I've got these just dead simple flashcards, hexagons, and then the bigger irregular hexagons, I've been told they're not real hexagons. But, you know, they do the job. So we've got lots of persuasive techniques that they've been taught in English, and now we're going to use those persuasive techniques in history to talk about the people that we just learned about. We've got repetition, we've got flattery, we've got bandwagon appeal, we've got understatement, hyperbole, superlative. The English teacher has taught them these. The history teacher just needs to know that it's being taught and use the resource. The idea is that each person in the group will come up with something persuasive about their favourite. They will write them each on the hexagons. So they might use repetition. Joseph is an evil, evil, evil man. Yeah? So they might use that and write that down. What they'll end up with is they'll end up with a persuasive speech that they can give to the class. Now it's not particularly structured at the moment. All we've got is persuasive ideas on each of the hexagons, which is where they use the language of cohesion to think about how they're going to link that together. So that's what, again, shared resource, dead easy to have those in every classroom. Dead easy just to have it up on a wall display, actually. And by thinking through their ideas and organising their ideas in this way, when they give the speech, they give that in a much more coherent way than if you just said, right, what do we think about this, and off you go. So I escalate it up. I start off with the clarify, prepare, share. Thank you, by the way, Sam, it's an awesome idea, I really like it. Clarify, prepare, share, just getting them to talk when they come into the classroom. Then the next stage, I'll get them to think about escalating it up, so we're getting into group work. Then the next stage after that, I'll be getting them to think about how they might use that to structure speeches using the hexagons and using the language of cohesion. The idea is actually the English teacher who's taught all of this. Everybody across the curriculum know what's being taught and when it's being taught. And the reason why they do that is so that they can just steal ideas and use it in their own lesson, so that they can back up what the pupil has been learning around the curriculum and make sense of it. And it's just things like thinking about where the communication already is in your classroom. How is it going to help? Asking those questions that we started with at the beginning. Questioning where the communication, the writing, the reading, the mathematics, where it is already, and enhancing it and using it to enhance the lesson. I hope you can see that didn't spoil the history lesson. It engaged the pupils in it, and it was using the literacy. It wasn't taking away any of the facts that they needed to get across. Now, I think we've got about 5 minutes left, so do you want to spend that 5 minutes kind of having a conversation? I've got a couple of copies of the Manglish there, which has got the examples of the gap split sheets in, which you can feel free to take photographs of or anything like that. So feel free to pass them around, and that's Manglish in a massive nutshell. Okay? Thank you very much.